A lot of youth, I think these days, they lack substance. They looking for that quick, easy path to do things.
War between the genders. So women will be saying, I don't want a man, I just want to have a kid. And men will say the same thing about women, or I don't like women are this and this and that. It's all this fighting.
Okay, so welcome everybody. Thank you so much for joining today. It's been a long time, and you're welcome to the Sign Talk Show. It's made for such a time as this. We talk about life, faith, family, God, and everything in between. And today we're discussing something very, very, very dear to my heart. And the title of today's episode is "What is your idea of a good marriage?" Yes.
Yeah.
What is your idea of a good marriage? And today I'm doing a male edition. And you can see my guests, they are all male. So we want to hear from a male perspective today what their idea of a good marriage is, and whatever it is, we'll be discussing, and let's just see how it goes. So today with me, I have, first of all, from the single. So I have two people in different seasons. I have a single guy, and I have a married guy. So we have two, perspective this morning. So I have Theo, and Theo is a youth leader and a treasurer at Open Circle Dublin. He's a software engineer, and he enjoys learning and understand things, especially finance and tech. And he said his goal is to create a life that inspires by living every day with purpose so that he can die with no regrets. I mean, that's like boom, boom, fire.
Yeah.
That's fire right there. So welcome to you. Thank you so much for coming.
For having me, appreciate it.
Yeah. You're welcome. And then we have our married guy here, Kingsley Emekobom, is a father of three. You can see he's been very busy. The father of three, and he worked in the financial service sector, and is passionate about Christ and youth ministry. So we're going to be having the married version of the discussion. So welcome, Kingsley. Thank you so much for coming, and thank you for joining us in this discussion.
It is my honor. Thank you so much for having me.
All right, so we're just going to go right into it. Now, when I was thinking, when you thought about the topic, when I gave you the topic, what's your idea of a good marriage? Before I actually go on to that topic, I want to know from a single guy's perspective, do you think guys actually think about marriage?
I think they do, but it's just not as pressing to them as it is for women, I think.
And why? Why do you think so?
One, there's different things that we have to have to make us, I guess, what we would say a good candidate. And those things take time to develop. So, and a lot of guys, they say, when I get there, I'll do it. So in their mind, it's like, it's not nothing about marriage, but it's once I finish all the things I need to get for marriage, then I'll come and do it.
And come and do it. So I must have a list of things.
Yes, this is the things that they have to get done to make them a suitable candidate. It's because girls have different things they want, different lists, just make themselves the best pick. Otherwise, you have to make sure they get that. And these things, what makes a man, I guess, in the marriage space, or a valuable partner would be based on the things he can provide and all these different things he needs, so that way he can maintain the household. So not just mentally, but financially, job-wise, security-wise, all these different things. So I think it's really important for guys to have that. So guys think about it, but it's not in the same way women think about it.
Yeah. Good. Okay, let me get another version of the same question. So what do you think? Do you think guys coming from, I mean, from single to, now married, and you're in it, go. So, what do you think?
I think society and kind of expectations has a lot to do with it. Especially depending on your background, and if you come from an African background, especially like in Nigeria, and there's certain expectations, when you look at from even what TJ is saying, for a lady, I think the preparation piece is making sure that as a good wife, you can cook, you can clean, you're respectable, it's pretty much it. But as a guy, you have to be able to cater for your family. You have to obviously have a good job. You have to become a provider. And like TJ is saying, sometimes that can take time, let alone the actual maturity aspect of it. And I think in terms of whether guys think about it, it's down to your priorities. And as you grow in life, when you reach certain milestones, once you finish college, if that's the path you take, once you started working, if you're in a serious relationship or not, depending on, your age and, who you surround yourself with. For example, I have so many examples of being in church and all the mummies and all the aunties are constantly asking you, when is your turn? When is your turn? Or,
pressure.
they're praying for you as if you have a problem, like as if you're, like it's like, if you don't get married by a certain age and they're looking at you and say, oh, you look like, you're ready to be married, it's like you have a curse or there's something wrong with you that is, don't worry, very soon, so it's very funny to see kind of how, the expectations of, people and how that can play on you versus, when you feel you're ready or when you know you're ready.
You're ready. That's a different game altogether. And when society feels ready, and maybe you're culturally, when they feel you're ready, and when you yourself, you feel that you're ready, it's a different ball game altogether. And I feel like we need to have more of this kind of conversations because, people can get into marriage and you're not really ready.
Yeah.
In fact, I feel like most men, maybe because of the age or whatever, like, I need to have grandchildren now or something, whatever, but go and get married. But you're not really ready because marriage takes a lot. It takes a lot.
Yeah.
Now, before I go into, other things that, that the men will provide and all that, I the first question was, do guys think about marriage? But I want to go back a bit deeper. Do men think about, are they ready for marriage? Was the first thing that we said. What do they think about marriage? They don't think in the same way as the women do. But do they think about sex? So it's a different ballgame. Do you get what I mean? Like, you might be having a relationship and not think of marriage. But that is also a way to even prepare for marriage. Because what you do in your singlehood will determine how your marriage is. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
Do you get what I'm saying? Yeah. Okay, so now let me go to, how do men prepare for marriage? How do they prepare? And you said, I think you've answered some of it from the first response that, they want to do this, they want to do that, they want to do that. But I think when it comes to the sexuality aspect of it, I'm going to go deep. I'm going to go deep today because I'm talking about issues. It's not just about being a provider, and all that. Now, when I was preparing for this, there are 7 things that they said that a man should provide. 7 things.
Only 7. Okay. Tell us. Let us know.
Okay, no. Before I even tell you, can you tell me what you think? What do you think that, guys should provide in a marriage? What do you think that guys should provide in a marriage?
You should provide purpose. You should provide a home. You should provide security. You should provide protection. You should provide, I guess, discipline, but I guess I can get guidance as well. Provide that kind of strong place where everyone can just rest and be safe in. So I guess it goes into security. That's the main thing. Also providing. So that's my 5 really. I think there's any more than that. But after that, also love, which is really big. A lot of people, I see a lot of people say they don't like their dad. That's because the dad was always the strong one, but not the loving one. So you can't love and not be, can be strong, but and then not love. You have to kind of do it. Right? So even if you do anything, you have to make sure you reconcile back your child. Also, let's say you chastise them or whatever, bring them back again. So a lot of people kind of don't have the good relationship with the dad because even though they're in the house, they rather him not be in the house because it's like your airtime issue is always a thing. So you cannot have that good balance of safety, but also I want you to protect you and grow and help you because I think what the guy tends to do in a family is he's the one to push his child to go do things because the mom kind of cuddle the child. Oh, don't let him. No, let him fall. Let him fall. Let him go. Let him go. Let him go and do it himself. He has to be there. He has to be there to kind of like watch you learn, but still watch you like this. And then once you see you fall and quickly come and catch you, and then I think that's what a dad has to bring in the family. That kind of security.
It must be present. It must be present. Present with your hearts. Yeah, it's physically there because a lot of people are physically at home, but they're not at home.
Yeah, just work at home.
Yeah, emotionally, psychologically, in all ways, spiritually. And I feel like, let me even talk about the spiritual aspect of it. And I feel like now working with youth, because I know that you guys are into youth ministry. And, what do you see in this coming generation when it comes to, oh my God, the relationship values, marriage values, their ideas about future, because a lot is going on. I don't know if you guys know, but you can be going to church, but come on, you're messed up. You're like, you're messed up. Like, I don't even think the church even have an idea of what is going on. So from your experience, let me go to Kingsley. From your experience, what do you think this coming generation, what do you think, what do you observe? What have you observed so far? What have you observed so far with as regard their mindset, their mindset, their vision about family, marriage, and all of that?
I think the one thing is, I think parents don't realize how much impact they have on their children. They don't realize, even if it's subconscious, the impact that the family values rub off on the child, and it always plays out. I think a lot of I'm starting with the parents because it starts from somewhere. A child, majority of the time, doesn't just start thinking of things or coming up with actually from nowhere. It comes from a source. And I start with the parents because I think a lot of parents have become too busy. They don't have time to really instill, godly values and the right values to prepare this generation for the current world issues that we face and that they're facing, right? And because of that, there's a lack of substance. When it comes to relationships, when it comes to understanding, there's no substance. Everything is filtered through social media and watered down, and they believe so much of what they see or what they hear, without having anything to really validate it or having the confidence or the boldness to challenge it. A lot of the tests, there's not, we can't box everyone. I don't like to box people, or I don't like to box, there are exceptions. There are still a lot of God-fearing young people that are even more solid than their own parents, as God would have it, right? But a lot of youth, I think these days, they lack substance. They looking for that quick, easy path to do things, without realizing or wanting to go through the process. In life, we always have to go through a process, and when you don't go through a process, that's when a lot of things start coming up. So I think there's a mix of things, but I always look back and I say, you know what, I can't imagine if I was growing up in this kind of an environment. When I say environment, I mean being exposed, what they're exposed to, we weren't exposed to, even though I grew up here. But the exposure, the free access to media, the free access, there's so many different thoughts, so many different opinions that can fly through every minute, depending on what or who you're listening to online, right? So I think we just have to make sure that, as a society, as a church, as parents, as leaders, as mentors, that we are instilling the right values and preparing this generation for what they have to face. And that's all we can do, is do our best to prepare them, because it's not easy.
Thank you so much, Casey. That's why we know, I feel like this conversation is very important. The reason why we need to have more of the conversation, because the young ones, the young generation, a lot of them don't want to get married. And I'm not talking about, you see, as I'm talking now, I'm talking about everybody. I'm not just looking at the church system. Okay, I'm talking about everybody. I'm just talking about what I observed. You get everybody, like, some people will tell you, oh, what are you talking about? This marriage thing. You see some girls, they'll tell you that they just want to have children. They don't want to get married. Like, Now, for me, I want the same question, Theo, for me, because you work with youth and youth ministry and all that. So what is your take on your observation on the same question, on how they feel about relationship, marriage, and all that kind of stuff?
I think what Kingsley said is really good about how parents don't understand how much they have impact. And one thing I've seen is, like, if you don't put your values into your own children, culture will. Someone's going to program your child regardless. That's happening. Either you do it or the world does it. And I see a lot of parents, they don't really understand social media and how big it is. A lot of parents aren't tech savvy at all. So there's a lot of things with your child on this. That phone is like, even though the phone is only an asset if you make it, right? The phone has just so much going on that phone. And a lot of people the whole climate right now in social media and in terms of culture, there's a lot of war between the genders. So women will be saying, I don't want a man, I just want to have a kid. They will say, and men will say the same thing about women, or I don't like women, women are this, women are that. It's all this fighting. It's causing us, like, imagine someone saying, all I want is to have a child. That's such a backward like mindset to have. But that's only because our values are different now. We don't value the opposite gender anymore.
Yeah.
Because and if you look at even music now, especially R&B, because R&B, if you kind of listen to R&B, you can kind of perceive the values of love at that time. So if you look at all the past R&B songs, it's, I love you, oh Nelly, all these different songs, stuff like that. But if you see it now, it's kind of like it's always very like toxic stuff. So you can see how our perspective of love is even becoming contorted. So we don't even value the idea of love, because people say, "Oh, love is pain, love is all this stress, all this different stuff," and it's like I think there's an agenda going. I don't know what it is, but there's definitely an agenda involved, right? Because I believe there's people who know more than we do that are who control the media. It's not about being stake, because anytime there's good stuff never permeates the algorithm as easy as bad stuff, or it's very manipulated. There's a lot of intentional things happening. I think in the world we live in right now, a lot of our values of love are coming from social media. They're now glorifying divorces now. It's almost like get that bread and leave, peace out. We're glorifying just short-term attachment, fast food love. Because in the world we live in, it's very, very fast. I got you out. You know what I'm saying? We're encouraging have sex, no marriage.
Yeah.
And then now we have a lot of people who are confused. And then they're going to the thing that confused them for clarity, which is social media, right? And the parents are not, because a lot of parents are actually still not aware. There's so many things going on that they're not even aware about, and a lot of parents have to kind of step up in that regard, because the youth right now feel a lot of things. I couldn't even tell you what they feel, because they feel so many different things, and they're thinking ideas at the exact same time. They don't want marriage because the reason they don't want marriage because they don't want love. Right? Because they
don't even know what love is.
They don't even know. Who knows? But clearly they're looking for something that fills that void. That's why they're going around doing all this stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. There's a lot of heathenism involved.
Okay. There's a lot of work to be done. And I feel like, even when we're talking about marriage, if we fail to regard or honor the creator of the institution in the first place, we're just going to go like AY. Because God created marriage. And even if people that are married, all of us are married, you're married, but if you still fail to honor God, to do it the way God wants it, you will never get the fullness of the joy of it. You understand what I'm saying? Like nowadays, even in the churches, do you have bad marriage? So many things are going on. Do you understand what I'm saying? And, as you said, as Kingsley said, and Theo said that, parents, what we even do at home, do we even know God ourselves? Do we honor God ourselves in our families? And even the influence that we have on our children. Do you get what I mean? Like solid. Many people or parents or people, I don't know, in families don't even understand the gravity of your influence in your family to your child. You understand what I'm saying? So all of these things, and I feel like if you don't go back to God, we can never get it right. If we don't go back to God, we can never have the anchor for that soul. And God is the love himself. They will say, I'm falling in love. You're falling in love. Or, you're feeling butterflies in your belly, and then later the butterfly is going to fly away. I'm like, I'm not feeling anything anymore. So we are just so, oh my God. This generation, I think more of this kind of conversation would kind of bring to the forefront what we need to do. And if you have to look at maybe 3 major challenges that you feel like the youth of nowadays face, with your experience, and you feel like maybe what they need to work on, I think you've kind of mentioned some of them, but on top of your head now, just 3 major things that you feel like, is a wake-up call. And I feel like the urgency is really now, like it's a wake-up call to everybody. And I feel like even for the boys, I have a passion for boys. I don't know why. I have 2 boys. So I have a passion for boys, because I know that, when they get it right, when you actually get it right, a lot of the things fall in place. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like let me talk about, and another issue that I feel like we have is the issue of fatherlessness. few
Talk to
brown
him.
parts in the even in the black race. I would say the issue of fatherlessness, even the churches too. You see, yeah, we do have people that are from two-parent family, but a lot of fatherlessness, and the young boys are looking for people to follow. And so when they don't see people to follow, method to follow, they go onto social media, they go on people that, do you get what I mean? So what is your take on that? I want to
Yeah.
know from you. Kingsley, maybe. Kingsley.
I think it's interesting, but okay, first of all, in terms of kind of the issues of young people, identity crisis is a huge issue. I mean, you can see the confusion. I guess it probably goes bigger than just young people. Um, so many things has been corrupted so much that people are just so confused. So identity crisis is a big one. Lack of discipline. Now people are just not disciplined at all. And they just always looking for the easy way to get anything done. Would be the two. I can't think of a third one off the top of my head. But in terms of the father piece, as a father, I would say it's not easy to be a dad. Right? People don't. I don't think fathers get enough credit. It's not easy to be a father. It's a lot, right? It is a lot. It's a lot of responsibilities. It's a lot of expectations. There's always expectations and there's reality. And there's always trying to meet that expectations and trying to carry, the weight on your shoulders while trying to fulfill all obligations and while trying to make sure that everything and everybody is okay. I'm not comparing male and female here, but just speaking as a dad, I think dads are kind of undervalued, or kind of maybe the role of fatherhood is maybe we've just gotten to a stage where you're so used to the lack of presence of a dad, that is just like a normal thing, right? But I think even growing up myself, and I have this opinion that at some stage in your life, you have to take responsibility for your own actions. And you can't constantly blame your surroundings or circumstances for you being, the way you are. Yes, it plays a role, but everybody has a mind, and God has given us all free will. So you can choose what path you want to follow. So even in an absence or in a place where maybe your own dad was not around, or like TJ's example where he was mentioning, okay, your dad might be around, but you might not want him to be around because when he is, it's always, negative, or it's just always the person who's there to give out to you. It's always the person who's just being negative. He's not there to embrace you. I feel as a father, one father figure that I think is important is a father should be a validator. It should be somebody that validates you, that gives you that confidence, that esteem, someone that you can look back and know, you're getting a thumbs up, that everything is okay. That if you fall, he's there to pick you up and he's going to tell you to keep going, and because that is so important, I think going back to what you said at the start about being prepared, yeah, we're not prepared. A lot, of course we're not prepared. And when I look at the structures of and systems that are in place right now, there isn't really anything that prepares you. You can go to all the seminars in the world, right? But you can go to those seminars in the world, but growing up, I can't remember anything that has really stood out to me. I said, what, this has been, what has helped me think of, the role of a father. Now, what I've observed good and bad. So I've learned from bad and I've said, what, I know this is not the kind of father I want to be. Right. So even for my own dad, I said, okay, this and this and this are the things that I want to take, or I'm going to take on, and then I look at other role models around and I say, okay, these are the things that I love. And these are the kind of, character traits, and this is how I would like to raise my family, my children, and it can be little things. It can be very, very little things. It can be as little as, how you greet your child, or in the morning, do you have to wait for your child to greet you? When your child does something wrong, how do you correct them? How do you communicate with them? Are you just always the person who is always giving out? Do you ever embrace them? Do you make them feel that love and security? I think there's so much that goes into it, and I think maybe more of the older generation, they find it harder to seek help or seek assistance or to voice out the fact that they don't know what they're doing. Like, you might want, like, a lot of dads who seem to be bad dads or seem to just always give out, they love you, they don't know how to communicate that love, and they don't know how to ask for help, or maybe they just, their mind is just so busy, or they're just so focused on, okay, I need to be a provider, I need to be a provider. And the pressure of being a provider is so much on them that maybe sometimes when you come to them, it's like, it feels like they exploded happen, you know. So I think there's so much in the dynamics of fatherhood, motherhood, parenthood, all the hoods together. And one of the most important factor is the place of God. Obviously, we're believers, and we have to rely so much on the Holy Spirit because He is the ultimate teacher, right? And being able to lean on Him to give you the wisdom on how to be a good role model, how to be a good leader, how to be a good father, I think is extremely important, and something that you know, we shouldn't take for granted, and we cannot ignore the presence and the power of the Holy Spirit in terms of preparing us to be, you know, good role models for, you know, this generation. Thank you.
Loaded. And